Anem, ¿cómo está? And hello, welcome back to another episode of Grace Daily, hosted by Grace International Baptist Church here in Chuuk, Micronesia. Today, I'm excited to introduce our guest speaker from many, many miles away. My friend Doug Potgetter has agreed to do one of these devotions for us, and I'm very much looking forward to it. I've already watched it, and it'll be good. I think you'll enjoy it. And Lord willing, if the Lord works it out, then hoping to have Doug and maybe another couple of folks that I know kind of be regular contributors and be able to give us different perspectives. That way you're not just listening to me all of the time. And so again, if you are getting ready for this coming Sunday, our passage, the complete passage, will be Philippians chapter 4, verses 10 through 20. And today, Brother Doug will be focusing mostly around verse 12, though he's covering a few. So hang with us. I hope you enjoy this special session. Grace and peace, my friends.
Hi everyone, my name is Doug Potgetter, and Josh Wagar is a very good friend of mine. You guys are blessed to have him with you. We went to college together about 10 years ago, and he asked if I would just bring a short devotional from the book of Philippians. So it's a real honor to be able to do that. You'll notice I'm wearing a sweater right now, and that's because I live in Holland, Michigan, where it is very, very cold. And I have to say I'm a little jealous of the warm weather that you guys have. But thankfully I have my space heater, which you might be able to hear in the background heating up my office. So the devotion today is coming from Philippians 4, verses 11 to 13. So I'm going to read that a moment. It says, "Not that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content. I know both how to be abased, and I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things I am instructed, both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me." The church at Philippi was very dear to the Apostle Paul, and it was mutual. The Philippians cared very much for him. And because they cared so much for him, they sent him a financial gift to help support his work of spreading the gospel. And that's what Paul's referring to in these verses I just read. But then he ends up giving us some very important instructions on contentment. Now, before we go any further, we need to understand how important contentment is for our Christian life. One man said it very well. He said this: "A lust for more is the basis for every temptation in the heart." Let me say that again. A lust for more is the basis for every temptation in the heart. Think about that. The reason temptations can be so alluring for us, that the reason they can have so much power, is because we're discontent in some way. Let me give you an example. Have you ever eaten a really, really big meal? I mean, really big, and you were just completely full afterwards, right? I know I've eaten like that before. Imagine that you've eaten this huge meal and then somebody comes along and offers you dessert, right? We probably all had that. And if you're really full, dessert probably isn't going to sound good. It's not going to have much power, that's for sure. And that's the way it is with contentment. Being content is being so full, so satisfied with what God has given you in your life that sinful temptations don't really have much power. There's so much more I'd love to share with you about that, but we need to keep moving. Now, if you read about Paul's ministry, you'll notice very quickly that he suffered a lot. And there's so many times when I read about Paul, and I just have to stop and ask myself, how did he keep going? I mean, how did he just keep moving and keep preaching and keep spreading the gospel in spite of all this? I mean, there were times when he went without his needs being met. He went without food. He went without sleep. Just a lot of suffering. And here in Philippians 4, Paul shares two truths that enabled him to be content, whether he was abounding or suffering need. And I just want to briefly share these two truths with you. Okay, the first thing is that Paul learned contentment. Okay, notice verse 11 again. He says, "Not that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content." That word learned is important. It comes from the same word translated disciple in the New Testament. To be a disciple of Christ is to be a learner of Christ. And in order to be content, you and I must be committed learners of Jesus, committed followers of Jesus. You have to be a disciple, is what I'm saying. Not just a believer, but a disciple. Contentment isn't something that just automatically comes with being a Christian. It's something that must be learned from following Jesus, from learning his ways. Paul was a committed disciple of Christ. Can you say that that's true in your life? Would your spouse say that you are a committed follower of Jesus? Contentment is only possible when we're following Jesus, when we're committed learners of him. The second truth that we see is found in verse 13. I'll read that again, and we're all familiar with this. "I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me." And the second truth, of course, is that Paul depended on Christ. This verse is quoted often for all sorts of things, and certainly it has many applications. But notice that the context is all about contentment. Contentment. We could say, "I can be content through Christ who strengthens me." Being content is found in depending on the strength of Christ, because our strength, my strength, your strength, is not enough. Again, Paul learned contentment because he was a disciple of Jesus. And second, Paul depended on Christ because he needed his strength to be content. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you'll continue to meditate on these important truths.